Good morning, good morning. Many people know me as, let's say, Mike G, G Money, but I think it's now time for me that I'm out to really tell my side of the story, just to motivate people and to share my insight on the stories. It's just bigger than just, a culture within the police department. We give you a backdrop of who I am, to really show you what I'm about. And I feel like a lot of people will be able to benefit from this, not basically talking down on a culture or pointing a finger, but just to get to know me as an individual. And I think it's imperative, in this time, in this climate, in this world, for somebody like me to step up and share a story in a positive way and a redemption way, to really just share insight that, you can overcome certain hurdles that come in your life. Another key thing I want to say is, in life, it's not about who you are or who you were, it's about who you're becoming. And it doesn't take a day or a night to basically refocus. Every second, every minute, you can take strides to become the better you. The thing that really got me through this whole process, when I felt like the world was on my shoulders, was my faith. I had a lot of people that actually poured into me, who I didn't expect. Sat down several hours in that cell, 23-1, sometimes 24-1, just reflect on my actions and just my overall life in general. And I just feel like in this moment and the moments to come, like it will just be very impactful, especially to the youth, the next generation, to hear a story from somebody like me that's been on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, that's dope though, man. You definitely gotta teach people about what to do, what not to do, man,
Yeah.
You gotta learn from your mistakes and help people learn from your mistakes, honestly.
Yeah.
That's the best thing to do. That's the best way to get back most of the time.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, man. It's like, everybody just hiding knowledge, and if we're not giving back knowledge, it's like, what are we doing? We're not helping out the youth at all.
And for me, that's what it's truly about. Because honestly, I could have rolled off in the sunset, kick back, but I really wanted to use the platform that I'm about to create to really just lead the masses. With a story just I believe they're just very unique. I think the culture within BPD is one backdrop, but when you actually have a individual who has their own story prior to that and after that, I feel like people will be able to relate more, have an understanding, not to justify anything, but just to have an understanding. One of the biggest things is, a person like me being in that situation, it's easy to say, hey, it's the culture, X, Y, Z, but one thing I had to learn was I had to take responsibility, because I wasn't raised like that, and I had to take responsibility for my actions, and, they say, okay, what I did was wrong, but where do I go from here? So where do I go from here? That's what I'm doing right now. A lot of the things that I love, the money, the women, the cars, traveling, once I got incarcerated, they couldn't do nothing for me. Nothing, Even the resources, I had to go through people to basically, put money on my commissary, X, Y, and Z, so I was limited. And during that process, that's where my growth really came, spiritually, to be frank, because all the things that I love, it was taken away from me, even the power. I had no power anymore, you know what I mean? I had power within myself, but I speak of it as the power that I have when I was a free man, freedom to do what I want, and then the power that came with my confession as well. So, I grabbed the closest thing to me, and it was the Bible. And to be honest, when I opened it, I didn't understand anything that was in it at all. It was like I was reading a riddle. But I just wanted to, I'm not gonna say I just wanted to, but I was just trying to grab anything to fill that emptiness. And I can share a story with you. Years ago, probably 2016, I just bought this new Mercedes. So money wasn't an issue. I can get on a plane and travel anywhere. But I remember this moment, like going to the gas station and just sitting in the car, having all the material things, the home, the cars, and I felt empty. You know what I mean? But I would say during that transition in prison where my faith grew, that void began to get filled. And I began to have peace. And then, my character began to build, my patience became to build, and my empathy, for others. Because at the end of the day, for my actions, it wasn't just about me, it was victims. Victims of the crimes that I did, so I had to really put myself in their shoes. No matter how I would want to justify it or downplay it, I was wrong. So during that time, it just allowed me to just grow into the man that I am today. What really changed about me was my patience, my faith, number one, and just taking responsibility for my actions and knowing that, in any situation, you have a second chance as long as you put the work on. Because it starts with you first. You have to do the work. I remember being in the county jail and a sergeant, and I don't forget the name, Sergeant Lamb, he told me to read it. And again, I didn't understand it, but just reading the book of Job, even though he went through those trying times, he had everything. You know what I mean? He didn't do what I did. You know what I mean? The God-fearing man, which I was, but I was a sinner, which he was too, but he didn't commit the crimes that I did, but in the same breath, just seeing how he stood fast and, he gave him praise, during his transgression. That really inspired me, just to remain strong. And, he was rewarded at the end. And it may not, and people may say like the reward of, he received double what he had. And I mean, the reward right now for me is just that peace and that oneness with the man above. You know what I mean? And having an opportunity now to share. Because I feel like in this time, in this climate, you don't have a detective like me, actually taking the time to, tell a story in their own words. I was working for over 10 years. Shot, I done seen it all. So, and again, it's not about pointing the finger, but it's about me just telling the story in my own words, what I went through, not anybody else, and how I overcame those struggles, and how I fell, to them temptations, in my own words. So I think it's imperative for somebody like me to step up, as a leader, to really inspire people. Being African, to be honest, my parents looked down on the police department because they wanted me to go to school, continue education in college, be a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor. So when I actually did apply for BPD, my father looked at me like I was crazy. But, at that time, like I said, being African, I wanted to get from under my father's tutelage. It wasn't about, I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be my own man. You get what I'm saying? And then in doing that, parents don't have my father didn't have any knowledge about that profession. So when those trying times came, when the temptation and, things within that department, I had nobody to go to because he couldn't relate, to it. I had nobody to relate to. I had nobody to really confide to about, hey, this is what's going on, Even still, I know what's right from wrong, but that I never had that dialogue. I never had that dialogue with my parents. You get what I'm saying? Because in his mind, he wanted me to stay home, go to school, finish college, be a professional. In my mind, I just wanted to be my own man. And at that time, I think in 2005, making $40,000 a year at 23, that was good for me to get on my own. So it was more so about me. What flavor is that right now? And I'll also say like the impact of my family with this, you know, I remember being in the county and my sister was like, you know, my mother, like the family in Africa already know what's going on with you. I mean, this was within 24 hours. So, you know, it was somewhat of a disgrace because, you know, not too many people in my family been incarcerated or even arrested. But at the end of the day, my family stepped up. You know, they know my character, they know me for who I am. So, you know, it's a lot of brothers that's in prison don't have that. You know what I mean? A lot of people turn their back, but like my sister, my cousin, you know, a lot of prayers, you know, they helped me out. You know, because for me it wasn't really about a monetary thing as far as like sending me money. It was just about that conversation. Just let me talk to somebody and process it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think those are things that I would say that impacted me and my family. And I thank God that, you know, my father and I were best friends, and he passed away on December 29th of 2016. I got locked up March 1st of 2017, and I had his funeral was January 7th of 2017. And I have to be frank, if I wasn't able to see his burial or be there for my father, or he passed while I was in prison, I may have been a different person. You know what I mean? Just processing all that, just because, you know, how my father looked at me, you know, as his son. You know, he was one of those type of guys that would just blow you up 9 times a day. You know what I mean? But, you know, I was able to see him off right. You know what I mean? That helped me a lot. You know what I mean? I thank God for that. But then, you know, shortly after I had lost my mother in October, you know what I mean? I had to send her to Africa because basically I was the breadwinner, so I had to send her to Africa with my family. You know. But the one thing, you know, and I'll talk more about this later, but it was a key moment in my life where my mother, you know, did some things. Like I said, I'll talk more about it, but I knew when she came to see me that last time in the county jail behind that glass, I knew that'd be the last time I see her alive. And in that moment, me just growing in faith, I said, Mommy, I forgive you, knowing that I never was going to see my mother again alive. So, you know, and I just say that to people that, you know, when people do you wrong, you gotta forgive. You don't gotta forget, but you gotta forgive. You know what I mean? Because it's just helping you. It's helping you grow. And if I didn't actually take that time to do that, man, it would be a lot different. So I thank God for that. Feel good, got the cut, you know, stay tuned, you know, big things coming, you know. It's just truly a blessing to be out here and, you know, back in the world. I can't take this granted this time. I have to use my voice in this time to inspire people and lead by example. I mean, that's just the key with me, you know what I mean? Showing people that you can turn a negative into a positive as long as you stay focused, and you got to keep the man above first. That's first and foremost. So, you know what I mean? This is a day in the life, you know what I mean? Get to know me. A lot of content's gonna be coming gradually, you know what I mean? Just bear with me, but it's a process. But I guarantee you, you know, you won't be shortened by any content, and it's gonna be very relatable and just overall, just my life, you know? An untold story where you're hearing my trials and tribulations from my own words. You get what I'm saying? I think that's imperative, especially right now, for somebody to just tell their own story so people can get a feeling for who that person is and who that person became, you know what you're saying now, or who that person was. So let's leave it at that.